today's guest not only plays for Australia but is a global star in her sport, flag football. She was in the inaugural Australian flag football team and is also an NFL global flag ambassador in the lead up to the Olympics in 2028 in LA. Thanks so much for joining me, Kodie Fuller.
Thank you for having me.
So I just wanted to start by asking about your childhood, so going back to then. So if you could just kind of talk about like what role sport played in your life when you were a kid.
Yeah, so growing up, my mum and my dad were quite sporty. My dad played rugby, my mum played netball. So I started, my first sport was netball, played that from when I was about 5 years old. Played that for a couple of years. We moved around a little bit, lived in England and Singapore. In Singapore, I really got into my sport. I was playing basketball, volleyball, soccer, a little bit of athletics. I was into long jump. And then, but soccer was probably the most prominent sport in my childhood and growing up through my teen years, and then even after. Once I was at university, I was still playing soccer.
So was it just like fun? Because like you just mentioned, you were kind of doing it kind of all throughout when you were a teenager as well. So did you plan on maybe playing in the A-League or the W-League as it was?
Soccer kind of picked up more so after I'd finished playing, but it was definitely, I think it was a goal of mine to probably go and play in college if that was something that I could have done. If I had my time again, definitely would have looked into it. But now that flag football's a college sport, that would have been it if I could have my time again.
So were you hoping that you could like represent your country like in a sport?
I think so. I think it was definitely something that was at the back of my mind. It's always a dream for any athlete to represent your country. I don't think that I really quite thought that it was a goal that I could achieve as I was growing up until I really got into tackle football and flag football.
So why did you stop? Because like you were playing football for so long, but why did you stop eventually?
Tackle football or soccer?
Soccer. Well, I guess both because you're eventually into flag now.
I stopped playing soccer. I don't know. I'd been playing it for so long and I kind of wanted a different kind of challenge.
Okay.
I had a friend in law school that was playing tackle football and she asked me to come and give it a go. Came down to a training session and I don't think I'd put down a football since. I fell in love with the game and that was a decade ago now. So yeah.
Why do you think you were able to like love flag football so much quickly? Like you were playing other sports for so long and then you just stuck with it?
Yeah, I think I fell in love with tackle football due to both the physical and mental side of the game. Like not only do you have to be really good physically on the field with agility, speed and hands, but the mental side, learning all the rules and the ins and the outs was really intriguing to me.
Okay.
And then switching over to flag, I fell in love with the fast, like it's so fast paced, it's creative and it's just so much fun.
So I just wanted to quickly, before I move on more talking about flag football, you did mention that you went to law school. Like was that something that you wanted to pursue a career in as well?
I did, definitely. So I went to law school, took 4 or 5 years, and I ended up being a lawyer for a year or so. But yeah, it just wasn't something that I was as passionate about, and definitely sport's always been my one true love. And yeah, now I get to focus on that a lot more.
I'm glad that you found flag football. Seems like you really love it.
I do.
Could you just maybe like explain, because I'm sure like some people may have heard of it, but they don't actually like kind of know what it is. Could you just kind of explain the sport and like what it actually is?
Yeah, so flag football is essentially the non-contact version of American football, or like NFL as it's commonly known. So it's 5-on-5, no contact. You've got 4 downs to make it to halfway and then 4 downs to score. So quite similar to OzTag. It's basically our version of OzTag.
What do you love about it as opposed to OzTag? I've heard it's a bit more complicated. I've chatted to some of the other girls.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played OzTag, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. But in terms of flag football, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in terms of, your route running concepts and things like that. It's quite intricate when you really get into the details of it.
Do people like get it confused with OzTag? Like, do people ever think that you play it?
No, I have been confused to play OzTag a couple of times, but I think once you explain that it's kind of the American version, they get the difference.
They start to get it.
Yeah.
I can imagine, because it's such a small sport. I guess it's still like growing a lot, obviously.
It is, yeah.
But
in Australia it is. I know having conversations, when I'm over in the States or other countries, it is definitely well known around the world. Just trying to get it boosted up down here.
Yeah, because you've kind of like been a part of it and like a big part of it since it's kind of started to like pick up in Australia. But like what did people kind of start to say to you when you told them about it in those early days? Obviously it's still very small now, but like what was the reaction you got from people?
When I played tackle football, it was probably more of a reaction. People were quite shocked that women here wear the pads and the helmet and go out and do that on the weekend. Flag football, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some people have heard of it, some people haven't. It's definitely, I think, more known than the tackle version. yeah, I think once you make that kind of relation to OzTag and the similarities between the sports, they kind of, get their head around it. And then now people are seeing it more, on advertisements, in the media, with the LA announcement as well. So people are definitely starting to get some awareness around the game.
What do you think it has been like to just see it grow? Because obviously it's still a very new sport, but in the last couple of years, like what are some of the, changes you've seen in people knowing more about it?
Yeah, when I started flag football, I went down on a Wednesday night to Brisbane Flag, and there was probably, 3 or 4 other girls down there. And to see it grow, like even the last couple of years, we've now had 3 national championships. We've had 3 Australian teams. I've seen young, 15 to 17-year-olds picking up and playing the sport. So it's definitely becoming more well known, which I love to see. I think with everything that's happening in the media as well, we're getting an NFL game out here. Like all of these little things coming together is really helping the sport explode down here.
You mentioned there's going to be an NFL game played out here. What do you think that'll do for the sport?
I think it'll be huge. NFL fandom has been steadily growing down in Australia. I think you can see Rams jerseys and Raiders jerseys now on some of the corners, but I think bringing the game out here is really going to boost awareness of both tackle football and flag football for our country. I think it's going to be huge. And
I wanted to ask as well, because you kind of mentioned that there's like more, you see like younger kids getting into it as well, but like what difference do you think it will make, like having those pathways to see 13, 14-year-olds actually getting into it when they're younger?
I think it'll make a huge difference. I think the big thing for young kids is having the awareness, the visibility and the accessibility. And I think with flag as well, there's low barriers to entry. Like you need a pair of cleats or boots, or you can do it in runners, and a flag belt and a ball. You don't need much to get started. And I think as, our national teams and our national programs keep progressing and we see more NFL stuff down here, it's going to become something that young kids want to do. So I think it's really going to help. What
do you think it would have been like for you if you could have had those, pathways when you were like a teenager?
I would have loved it. It would have been amazing. As I said, I think if I could go back and go and play college football in the States and play flag football, that would be a dream. And I know now that's a legitimate thing that some of these young kids can do. We've got Olivia Manfrey that plays over in college, and having those goals is awesome. For it to be something that they can achieve, it's really cool.
Yeah. What would you say to some of the kids that are wanting to get into it, or they don't know how they can?
I think, you've just got to give it a go, really. That's how I got into the sport. Obviously it's a bit daunting to try something new, but I don't think I've met one person that's tried flag football and hasn't fallen in love with the game. And as I said, now the possibilities are endless. We've got Olympics on the horizon for LA 28, potentially Brisbane 32. There's college scholarships. You can go over to the States and play. You can represent your state, your country. There's so many opportunities. So I think if you get into it now, it's the best time.
One thing I did want to ask about, and I've chatted to some other flag athletes about this before, is the set of the cards on your wrist, or I guess the set moves. I just wanted to ask a bit about them. Is there a lot of pressure to try to remember them all, or how does it all work?
Yeah, I think it depends on coaching. Some coaches will let you use a wrist coach as much as you want. Some would prefer that you don't. My mindset is always you need to learn the plays leading into any tournament and have them in your mind, but having the wrist coach is kind of like a safety blanket. You know that you can look down and kind of get that confirmation of what a play is if you need it, as well as you can put other little things in there that kind of help you adjust on the fly in game situations. But yeah.
So who calls what play you're going to do?
Our coaches. So for us on offense, it's our offensive coach usually, sometimes head coach. But yeah.
Do you know how many there are? Does it change?
It does change. It depends on, again, the coaches, the playbook. Sometimes we could have a quite in-depth playbook of 60 plays.
Wow.
Most teams I've played on, we typically will have 24 plays in our wrist coach.
Has there been a reaction from some of the people getting into the sport that maybe didn't expect that it would be?
Most people really like the wrist coaches, especially younger girls and boys. They like to look at the pictures, and sometimes you can have words, sometimes you can have pictures, but usually for the younger kids, having pictures of where you need to go and what you need to do, they find really helpful.
And I wanted to ask as well, in 2024 when you were announced as a global flag football ambassador ahead of LA 2028, so I guess in the lead up, but I just wanted to ask how did that actually come about in the first place?
Yeah, so I was asked by our governing body whether it's something that I would be interested in. So obviously it's something that's provided me with some really huge and amazing opportunities. At the end of the day, the goal of the role is to grow the game in our home countries, which is what I'm most passionate about. Yeah, it's been really, really cool. There's a lot of people in Australia, men and women, that have done a lot for the game. So I know that I'm really lucky and blessed to kind of be able to be in the position that I'm in. But yeah, the opportunities I've had have been phenomenal.
Yeah, I've seen you on like social media doing content for it, but you mentioned that it's kind of to grow the game, but like what does your role consist of? Like what are some of the things you've been able to do so far?
Yeah, so a lot of like attending different events that, you know, we get a lot of kids at. So with NFL Flag that's run out in Australia, I try and go to as many of those as I can and just kind of be a face for the young girls and boys to know and ask questions. And for me, like even with the Super Bowl commercial, you know, it wasn't the peak, it's kind of just the beginning to kind of have that Australian representation, and that's what's really special to me. I think the sport is about to take off here, and to be able to have faces and names, I think will really kind of add to what we can do with it.
Yeah, you did mention the Super Bowl ad, and I know you said that wasn't like the peak, but it kind of did feel like maybe it kickstarted something. But what was that like, being on that ad and seeing what it could do?
It was crazy. It was honestly probably the most surreal moment that I've ever had, both when I got asked to do it and when I was there shooting it. I got to be surrounded by some of the best female athletes, the other global ambassadors, some of the US girls while we shot the commercial. And then to see it kind of come to the big screen was just insane, to see how far the sport has come and see how much female representation we have, and then to be able to represent Australia on that stage as well. It was insane.
How does it feel like getting to do things like that and getting to be an ambassador, like kind of being one of the faces for a sport that you've been a part of for so long? Like, what does it mean?
It feels, I mean, sometimes I get a little bit of imposter syndrome because, as I said, there's a lot of people in our country that do a lot for our sport.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm very lucky that I get to do these things, but it feels good. I mean, my goal at the end of the day is to get as many boys and girls, men and women, to play this game in our country and kind of grow the program out here. So just to be able to, you know, if I could have one girl look at the Super Bowl commercial or the other commercial and say, you know, that could be me, I want to play flag, I want to do that, like that's a goal achieved for me. So yeah,
It must have been pretty cool to be on like TV that had on one of those.
it is. Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, something that I probably never thought would happen, and now I've been lucky enough to do it twice with the two commercials, and both times it's just been insane. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very blessed to be able to represent our country and our sport and women on that stage.
Yeah, it's great to see that the platform, I guess, Flag Football has been giving it in Australia, but you did mention that like you're filming that commercial with, I guess, some girls from like other countries as well, but how do you, because you've obviously travelled to the US and you've travelled to some other countries to play flag football, but how do you see how it's going in some of those other countries compared to like Australia?
Yeah, I think obviously in the US it's already huge. They have so many players and so much talent coming out of there, but even there they're still pushing to grow it further, and it is, and getting it sanctioned in all states and having these girls play in high school through to college is really cool. Then for the other countries, you know, there's global ambassadors from Brazil and Germany and France, and I speak to them quite a bit about the growth of the game in their countries, and they're quite similar to Australia, some of them, in that the game is not that well known.
Okay.
But I think we've all got the same goal. We're trying to grow it as fast and as best as possible. They're doing some really good work out in their countries as well, but we're definitely seeing the growth all around the world. Like it's just skyrocketing, which is awesome.
Yeah, and like just going back to Australia again, because I know that in, I guess, the Australian flag football team and just flag football in general in Australia, like there are so many athletes from different sporting backgrounds, like netball. I mean, I could name a lot, but there's so many like sports. But how do you like feel seeing like other athletes from other sports, like discovering your sport that you've been doing for so long? Like, how does it make you feel?
It feels really good. I think, you know, in the last couple of years, flag may have been seen as kind of like a backyard sport or just an offcut to tackle football. And I think now getting other elite athletes into our sport kind of proves, again, the legitimacy of the game and how elite it can be. So even on our national team, we've got some great like NRLW players that have come over, AFL players, netballers, and having them come over and into our program, you can really see the level of athleticism that they can bring, and I think it's what we need for our program, so it's great.
Yeah, like what does it do? Like you said, like you've got some real experience with someone like Shani from, I guess, a rugby league background, but like what does that do, having some experience but also like a mix of like young girls from other sports joining?
I think it's really good. It helps the dynamic of our team because we've got a really good mix of, you know, experienced flag players that may have not have been at that elite level, and then we've got girls like Shawnee and Kiana that come in with that experience, knowledge and leadership, and it's a really good balance. And then we've got young girls that are incredibly athletic, and their ceilings are so high, and I think having those 3 layers really make the team very, very special, and I think we can go really far.
Because I imagine that's good having a bit of a mix, because also heading into 2028, you know that you can have some of those younger girls and they're just going to continue to get better. That must be like exciting to see.
It's so exciting. I think the trajectory that we're on as a program is really exciting, and it's getting better, and I think for 28 it's looking really bright.
Yeah, how do you think we're going in the lead up to 2028? I feel like it's creeping up so quickly now. There's only a few more years to go.
I know. I mean, it felt like, it was 4 years and then it was 3, and it's getting quite, it feels both like it's just around the corner and it's really far away at the same time. As a program, we have a lot of work to do in the lead up to LA 28, and that's evident with our international tournaments that we've done. But I do think with the resources that we have, the players that we have, and like our high performance unit and our coaches, I think that we really have the potential to go all the way. It's a matter of putting our heads down as a nation and really locking in and getting this right in the lead up to LA 28.
So has this, period also been like trying to build like a culture with the team, because it is quite new, but are you also trying to kind of build a culture with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think culture is the biggest part of the team. You can have 12 incredible athletes, and if the culture's poor, they probably won't perform on the field. I think how you get along on and off the field is really important, especially in a game that's so team focused. With quarterbacks and receivers and the connections there, like you have to be kind of connecting on all levels to be able to connect on the field. Building culture is something that's really important. I think especially as we're a grassroots sport and kind of growing, getting culture right early on is incredibly important.
How do you think that is going with establishing that culture in the national team?
Yeah, really good. We're our last team that just went over to LA. As I said, we've got a mix of older, experienced players. We've got young elite athletes, and I think the dynamic is really good. Every team's going to have its challenges, and it's kind of how you navigate through those challenges that is going to set you aside from being an elite team that performs really well and one that crumbles under pressure. So I think that we're doing all the right things.
This question that I like to finish with. So for all the interviews that I'm doing with athletes or coaches or whoever I'm interviewing, which is like, what has sport given you, and like why has it been important for you to stay in sport your whole life?
Well, that's a deep one. Sport has given me, it's been such a huge part of my life. Both, I think the biggest things in my life is my family and my sport. Sport has given me so much over the last, throughout my whole life, but particularly over the last decade. I've been able to represent my country 4 times now, which every time has been just an incredible feeling. It also, like, my family travel and support me, and I get them behind me all the time, which is really special to me to be able to make them proud and have them come with me. But flag in particular and tackle football has given me all of my friendships, all of the people that I connect with. Like, some of my best friends are from football, and having those relationships and that community really has helped me through a lot of times in my life, and I think will continue for the rest of my life. Like, they're really big relationships that I've built. Opportunity and friendship, probably the 2 biggest things that it's given me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kodie. It was great to find out about your story and interview today. So
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.